Hello, we're going live now. We're going out a very, very special live in this moment today because I'll be trying to answer your questions. I'll be answering your questions now, talking about a bit of what's going on, what is coming for my channel, what is the plan now. And since I usually do these lives in my evenings, is around like 8 or 9 p.m. London time, then it's usually the Asia Pacific part of the world is asleep. I know that there's many of you that are there that want to share your insights, that want to participate in the live, so I decided to make a very, yeah, somewhat short Q&A at this time. So I think that this will be um, better time for you to share a bit of this space, this live space that not always is at this time. I hope to make to do more lives at this time, like once weekly. So just tell me in the comments, just tell me in the comments or in the live chat, especially in the live chat now, where are you writing for to, and what is your local time to know, to have an idea of this is a good time. Would you prefer 1 hour earlier or 1 hour later? There's Isamar from UK. There's Channel Jack from Dubai. Hello. There's Jemima too. There's Tamika. Hi, it's 11:15 in London. Yes, it's a very good time for Europe too. I don't know if you have a time to catch a live at this time. That's great too. If you're anywhere in the world, in fact, it's just like I'm trying to do something a bit different. It's 8:15 in Melbourne, Australia. Hello, Jody. How are you doing? Hello, Ed from the Canary Islands. Yeah, Peria from Holland and Alice from Germany. Yes, this is a very a Q&A to answer your questions. If you have any questions, just ask it in the live chat. There's a question that they asked me quite a few times. That how is the path that you have to follow if you want to learn body language? And there's no really not a formal path, but the path is one of curiosity. The first thing that you have to do, in fact, to learn almost anything, it should be one of curiosity. I want to be curious about how do you interpret those signals. And there are many specialists, analysts, academics, researchers about this topic, and you might be overwhelmed at first because there are points that of convergence that we almost everyone agrees on, and there are other points of body language that maybe there's some difference from one researcher to the other. I'm gonna mention a couple professionals that I consider really good at this. Let me see what is this here. How did you realize your vacation was to show people? This is very good. It's a very good question. Thank you, Karen. How did you realize your vocation was to show people how to detect how others are not as they appear? Much love from Scotland. I love Scotland. I was just answering one email a bit earlier about thinking of, I don't know, renting a castle in Scotland and throwing a 1 week party in a castle on Scotland. I don't know, that's something that I fantasize about. It will be really nice. But how did I realize my vocation? I've always been an introvert. I'm an introvert by nature. I was really shy, extremely shy. But it was like this kind of something that I did not understand, because I was very shy talking to one or two people. But if you put me in the front of the class, or you put me talking, giving a lecture or public speaking, I was just transformed. I could just do public speaking or performing in front of the class very well. Absolutely no problem with that. So it was really hard for me to understand why I could do that if I was that shy of talking to a stranger or reaching out to a stranger and out of the blue. That was really hard for me. So I started studying advertising. I've told you many times that I'm an artist at heart. I am an artist, and one of the things I figured out that I could study was advertising. You know, because the writing, because the artistic part of the design, how to convey a message, etc. It was like intersection of many disciplines that I thought this could bring money to the table, because the idea of being an artist, a pure artist, was not very has never been really like appealing to me. I am an artist, but I think art must serve a purpose, so, to some extent, and more of that later. So I discovered by my advertising and marketing studies that people did not say or tell the truth all the time. So I was trying to find out how do you make people, how do you find out if people are lying or telling the truth, especially if you act and do you like this like campaign, or do you like this design, or do you like this product? If you have a focus group for a marketing research, you have to ask some people and give you their opinion about what they think about the product or the design. So I began to think: is there no way? Is there a way to tell if you can know if people are lying? And that's why I become interested in psychology and then anthropology. I stumbled upon it was really totally random on nonverbal communication, and the first book that I had on body language was Alan Pease. I don't remember the name exactly, but it's the book. I think everyone has that book at home, the Alan Pease book. And Alan Pease is not an academic. He's Australian. I remember that he was the son, or he is the son of a very famous salesman in Australia, and he was a salesman too, and he learned in the field all this body language techniques, and he somehow one day decided that I'm going to put all of that knowledge of body language in sales. I'm going to put in a single book, and he wrote this book with this illustrations that many people know, and it was an instant hit because no one had crafted such a compelling and easy book to follow. Now, if you ask purists or academics, they will say that the book is slow in many ways because it's not rigorous, or it's a bit biased. You can find all kind of opinions about that book, but that book is a very good place to start. I repeat, Alan Pease. Alan Pease is a very good author on that. He is not working with body language anymore much. He has a lot of very good books about relationships with his wife. Barbara Pease is an amazing speaker, an amazing author herself. But the other specialist I also follow, and it's a great guy, is Joe Navarro. And his book, in my opinion, his book is What Everybody Is Saying. His book, What Everybody Is Saying, is the best book in body language. I've got a book in body language, but when people reach out to me and tell me which book do you recommend about body language, I tell them about the Alan Pease book, and I recommend the Joe Navarro book. Those books are very good. Especially the Alan Pease book is a little bit like is a little bit easier to read. The Joe Navarro book is also easy to read, but those are very good. Besides my book, those are very good place to start. And there's another professional body language. You might know him. There is I forgot his name. Balden. is Mark. I Yeah, Mark Bowden. You may know if you're following the body language trend in YouTube. You of course you know about the behavior panel. That is Scott Rouse and this Mark Bowden there. And Mark Bowden is very good at his craft, especially if you want to focus on body language for business. Mark Bowden is the guy. He's very good. Is an extremely unique and really good communicator. It's really compelling the way he projects his message, how he delivers his message. He's the guy. I really. English is not my mother tongue, and I watch, of course, Mark talking. I'd like to talk like him, and he's a very good. He has this. I don't know how's this book called. Let me try to remember. He's got this Winning Body Language. That's his book. That's another book, and that is Winning Body Language. And he also has an body language book on sales. That is very good too. All right, this. I get this asked a lot. What are your credential degrees? I have one page in my website that lists my credential degrees. I studied advertising. I studied graphic design. I studied psychology. I studied nonverbal communications in London. I studied how do you say that in information technology. I studied it too. I have been like a learner all my life, both formal in college and informal, like by myself. And lately, I've been reading more philosophy. It's my hobby. That is my hobby now, reading about philosophy. And I get that question asked, and I understand the concern that how do we know that what you're talking is the real deal? And that's why I try to be so and include so much common sense in my videos and my lives. I try not to rely much on my degrees. I've got the degrees, I've got the chops, I've got the studies, but I think none of that matters if I cannot deliver a message that you can't or cannot put to use. And I think that's the best proof of anything. You might say, "Hey Jesus, I'm not." I get a lot of comments about saying I don't agree with your conclusions, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally say if you don't like what you're saying, it's like if you don't like the live, you prefer the how to say the recorded videos. Well, go ahead, just watch the recorded videos. If you don't like saying, "Hey, yeah, this gesture means this thing," well, you're totally free to say, "Well, I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna believe that." So that's okay. But then I could list all my credentials over another. They're at my page, but I think I'm not a formal teacher, so to speak. I don't want to become what I was for many years, college teacher and university teacher. It was real fun. It was a lot of fun because I was not in the sense of normal or standard. I was a bit rebellious about that. I was a total mess with grades. The grading system. It's something like I wanted my students to think. I never believed about, hey, this is some content. This is there's a test, and you have to pass that test to just pass the subject. I don't know, get your degree and everything. And I never felt like I really fit in that system. So it was a real struggle. I had the credentials to enter to like qualify to be a university teacher, but always had problems with that. Hey, where are the degrees? Where are the tests? Where are the numbers? And I said it's more important to make people think. And YouTube have has helped me have a direct channel for that to say, hey, there's no pressure here. There are no grades. There's no really some kind of a reputation that this guy, the body language guy, has this degree, has work here, such and such. But it's just like I talk to you, and if what I say makes sense, and if what I say you can apply that, and it helps you, and you realize that it works for you, then that's a real deal. That we do not need anything else. So, and that's also a bit of my I've been fighting the standard educational system, both at school but both at college. How relevant is people learning things that they're not going to use, and how much more important it's making people, helping people learn to think. Learning to think, it's paramount, because people say about, you get many authors saying that it's important to keep on learning all your life. Yes, but many times it's just absorbing new information that if you don't use it, you're gonna forget that. Even if you listen to an inspirational author or someone that looks sounds very clever, or a TED talk or one of my videos, if you don't put it to use, you're gonna lose that knowledge. It's gonna fade away, and it's really sad, because learning is putting things to use so you can build your own knowledge for your own experience. And I believe, and I sometimes am a bit off the grid with this, is a bit like non-orthodox posture, that most education does not prepare people and does not help people how to think, how to say, hey, I'm looking at the circumstances, what can I get for myself, what can I learn from this. And I think learning to think is one of the most important things, and that's one of the things that you see in my videos, that maybe I don't reach a conclusion, or a solid conclusion, this person is lying or this person is telling the truth. But what I want you is to be able to look at all the angles yourself, and you get to a conclusion. I might have a conclusion. Maybe my conclusion is not the one that you reach, but having the same conclusion is not my goal. It's like, this is the text, this is the test, and you have to read the text, do the test, and have a grade. I think education is not like it. And I think YouTube has been a great tool for that, for many learners. And I think we are all learners. We are all teachers and learners at the same time. I just want you to be able to think, to organize your thoughts, to observe, to look at the details, to look at the body language, to the circumstances. That's why I include so many angles on my videos. These are, have you ever gotten it completely wrong? Of course, more than one time. That, especially, and that's why I don't do interviews, and much less live TV shows. I used to do them, be invited to TV shows, and many times people want a straight answer in real time, and that is absurd. I have to look at the source. I want to know the circumstances. I want to know about what is going on with the person. Where are they coming from? What's this? I don't know the context of a video. And if I try to do it first try, most probably I'm going to go wrong with that, because body language doesn't work like that. It's not a magic bullet that you're gonna have all this knowledge, or you're going to use your intuition and you're going to that nail it every single time. There are people that have very good intuition that are already called wizards. Wizards because this program from Paul Ekman, you might have known about Paul Ekman, is the leading scientist on facial microexpressions since the 1950s, and he has been doing this research for so long, and he's identified that there's a small percentage of population that are just very good at uh, deciphering the facial expressions. They can just spot these things on the fly. But the problem is that facial expressions are a subset of body language, and body language is a subset of nonverbal communication, and nonverbal communications is a subset of human behavior. So you're just looking at one small piece of a puzzle that is much more complicated than that. That is fascinatingly complex, and I think that's one of the things that attracted me and have kept me here. And that's why I'm studying philosophy now, because I it's something about human behavior that just cannot be explained without going inside that meaning of existence, of why are we here, what is our purpose, because all of that, all of that, say, knowledge that we cannot see is what sparks our emotions, and emotions is what finally manifests in our body language. So everything is connected. We are a very beautiful system of very, very intricate and complex parts, both body, mind, and soul. And you simply cannot say, I'm gonna just pick this part and I'm gonna drive a conclusion from that. And I think that's wrong. And I think that's something that we should be thinking, should be aware of. I've seen Alan Pease is not only insightful about body language, but he's hilarious. Yes, I think that's a very important part of education. We always think of education and entertainment as two separate entities. And I think they're really intimately related, because there's no better way to remember something if it sparks an emotion in you. And maybe you're giving a lecture, or maybe you're giving you're giving a lecture, for example, at university, and not every time it can be inspiring, not every time it can be scary, or I don't know, you're angry, and it's a bit odd that a lecture gets you angry or gets you happy. But humor is something that you can sprinkle like Salt Bay. You can sprinkle humor like this over your educational content, so you keep people engaged, you keep people at ease, you try not to take yourself too seriously, and especially make people relax and really like try to use what you say. So I think, of course, there's also this how do you say, this concept called edutainment, that is just a buzzword for education that really includes a bit of humor. I understand that not everyone has the gift of having the right dose of humor in education, and I myself, in my videos, I need to mature the content long enough so I can, like, hey, I can include this joke here or this joke there. It's something like I can just do it on the fly. I just can't. So it's something that you gotta have certain talent, you gotta have certain sense of humor, and you gotta have the way what is going on in the mind of the person that is looking at you, if you're interested. And this is not just if you are a teacher or are into education. This should be into anyone, because teaching is a form of communication, and we all want to communicate better. And to communicate better, we have to not only dominate and understand the concept perfectly in our minds, as Richard Feynman says, we should be able to explain it to a 5 year old. If we cannot explain that to a 5 year old, then we don't understand it quite well ourselves. If you can understand the subject, if you can um, explain it to a 5 year old, and you can even joke in certain parts about it, and you are master that communication channel in a way that people uh, learn something from you, identify you as someone that knows about what they're talking, and at the same time they feel at ease because you don't take yourself that seriously. It's a very complex dynamics, and I think it's something that people really want when they communicate, when they have a conversation, when they, and not only when you are at work or giving a presentation, but when you are talking to your sons or daughters, when you're talking to your spouse, when you want to be engaging, but that makes people, that makes everyone feel good around you, and that's a superpower, a very complex one, but that's a superpower. Yes, Alan Peace is an Aussie too. I like the Australian accent a lot. By the way, I find it sometimes a bit hard to understand. I must say that my favorite accent is the British. I understand that there are many British accents, like the posh, the Cockney, but I like, in general, I like the British accent a lot. I do not have a Spanish British accent because I learned American English at a very young age, so I stay with the American accent, that Spanish American accent. So I sometimes joke with a British accent. Maybe sometime I will joke with my British accent live, but I'm too afraid now to do it. Yes, Mark Bowden. We were talking about Mark Bowden earlier. The Behavior Panel, brilliant team of body language experts. If you're not following them, you can follow them, and here in YouTube you just look for the Behavior Panel. I understand that Scott Rouse, Mark Bowden, they all have their individual personal YouTube channel, but isn't that Behavior Panel channel that they just join forces, like, I don't know, the Avengers or the Fantastic Four, and they then do this really long and comprehensive videos about body language. And there are quite a few. Well, not quite a few. And that is something that I would like to understand, why there's so few body language channels in YouTube. I know that there's this guy, that's Logan Portanier from Observe, is a nice channel to see. If you haven't seen Logan, you can check his channel. It's called Observe. There is Cameron Edwards from the UK. His channel is Enigma. You search Enigma body language, you're gonna stumble upon Cameron. Cameron is a great guy. We have been talking to see if we can do some cooperation in Royals body language. We haven't been able to consolidate that cooperation. I think I know that we're gonna do soon. But big shout out to Cameron Edwards, Enigma body language. You can follow him. And there are a few other guys that I'm thinking about, but let me see every other comment. All right, this is very, very good question. Hi from Taiwan. What's your advice to someone who might want to study psychology at college? For example, what are the jobs opportunities outside of school? There's a lot. Psychology is an area of knowledge. You're gonna have a lot of competition, that's for sure. So, well, I think everyone has got a lot of competition. It doesn't matter if you study psychology or so you study law or engineering. There's a lot of competition in virtually every single field. So if you ask someone and they tell you there's a lot of competition, just discard that because that's reality. That's how it is. So you just get that out of your mind. In the case of psychology, there's always going to be opportunity to work either independently on your own as a psychologist, or for a company, or for a startup or technology. Right now, virtually every company needs some kind of uh, uh, psychologist. And what I recommend for any professional now is to have this. I wrote an article on that. I think it was in LinkedIn. I think I should migrate to Medium. By the way, if you also read blogs, and if you read Medium, just let me know, or read the blogs on LinkedIn. I have many pieces, unpublished pieces that I would like to publish, but I don't know where do you read them. Just let me know. But I published an essay like 1 year ago that you have to think in doubles. You think about psychology, but at the same time, the psychology, it must be paired with something else, something that doesn't have anything to do with it. For example, it's like you could pair psychology with anthropology, but there's it's just too much in common between them. But let's say that you study psychology and then do a master's degree on statistics. It will be really great. It will be a really good combination, because you can begin to understand big data, and you can understand how that big data applies to psychology or demographics of large amounts of people. And that is really needed now, because there are all these enterprises with a lot of data that they want to interpret to better understand their consumers and their audience and everything. And if you have the ability of reading or interpreting that big data or statistics, and have this psychology base too, then you can combine them in something that you are not going to have that much competition. Because many people study psychology, and many people get their degree in psychology, but not many people combine it with big data, or if you can add courses in Python programming, so you can develop or understand how this artificial intelligence works, or at least how does a platform, a custom flat platform, or a custom flat platform for psychology analysis works much better. So today in education, I think careers are more like a Lego structure. You get psychology, you study psychology, and say I have to do a master's degree, and try to do it in an area that transforms you into a professional, a combined professional. That is not that the market needs. There's not that much competition. Even if there's so many psychologists out there, you can transform yourself in someone that will not have competition. A big recommendation for all you young learners, young and old, no matter where you are, is to document your learning journey. How do you document your learning journey? It's something as simple as I remember a very good example, very odd example. I always use movie examples. In the movie Avatar, you see the protagonist, the one that embodies this big blue guy. He's not a marine. He's a marine. He's a marine. Yes, that embodies this blue guy. That he has a video log at every night, telling his experience of the day. That is very important. I think that's extremely important. I understand that you might be shy, you might not be interested in rescinding or like opening up your privacy to the world to see how you experience learning something. But I think it's a great cheat code. It's a great great shortcut to build a community and to build an not an audience. Maybe you think of an audience, you have to be an influencer, you have to be a celebrity. You don't need to be, you don't need to have 10 million people on Instagram. It doesn't, you do not need them. But I always encourage everyone to build a community around their own interests. And that's very powerful because networking, that is really important for every professional. And this is a mistake that I did for many years, and I want you not to make the same mistake. Networking is extremely important, but we usually think about networking on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is sometimes a bit, there's too much noise. All right, and if we're new to the scene, then it will be very hard to crack the LinkedIn networking. It will be much easier if you start just streaming your learning journey, your it doesn't matter what you learning. If you're in college studying psychology, if you're in a, for example, in a cooking course of just 4 weeks, doesn't matter. Just document in video your journey. Talk about your struggles. Talk about what is nice, what is not nice. Just talk 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you have an audience yet. And that's why I am not a YouTube ambassador at all. I'm not in that sense. I like Twitch for many reasons, but not, right now I'm focusing on YouTube. But YouTube helps a lot you connect with those potential community members, and that's very good. Because I understand that Twitch doesn't store your streams for too long, and that I think that that's not good because maybe people want to watch your stream past the streams like from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I believe that Twitch doesn't allow you or have limited for that. And in this case, YouTube helps you that you just record a video, talk about your experience, and just leave it there. You don't have to have very good productions, but it is essential to build a community. But maybe you find another peer who is studying psychology in the other side of the world, and they found you just by a naive or an absolutely transparent video in this platform, and you make that connection, and you realize that there would have no other way to create that connection with that person in the other side of the world. It would be really having really odd or random, but you can make the YouTube algorithm work for you because the YouTube algorithm actually watches your video, listens to your word, and knows what you're talking about, and says, I understand that Jesus is talking about body language. I think I've got this person in Taiwan that likes body language, and this Tammy Lin in Taiwan likes body language. I'm going to show Jesus' video to Tammy Lin to let's see if she likes the way that Jesus talks, Jesus presents his ideas, and maybe they can connect in that way. And that is the power. That's how can you hijack the power of the YouTube algorithm for your benefit. There's a lot of silly YouTubers. There's a lot of people just wasting time in YouTube, doing atrocious things, and I don't know, sparking drama. You may think that that yes, YouTube is a really big percentage is silly people, but at the same time you can use the algorithm for your own professional, educational, personal benefit, and you can use it this way. I understand. Maybe you don't want to show your face. Perfect. Do not show your face. Use only your voice. Your voice is very important. Your voice is very important to connect. Maybe you just insert. You talk and you insert random images. Maybe you don't get to insert any image. You just put a static image and put a frequency with your voice. I don't know. It can be as simple as you want. But I encourage you to publicly document your journey. Maybe you can do it with a pseudonym, totally anonymously. You don't have to use your name. You don't have to use your face. I believe that people in Twitch that make this silly anime, not silly, that are very very cute avatars for them, that they create a full avatar, anime avatar, and they talk and interact through their avatar, so they remain private. I think that's good too. That's a good alternative. But networking in this way cannot be any easier. So I really encourage you to that. So there's a lot of opportunities studying psychology. I really, really think that we all should become combined professionals. That would be really, really important. Can you make videos about Fauci and Gates? And these are the things that are not that good about YouTube's algorithms sometimes, because I understand that they will throw certain topics, and depending on how you talk about them. I've talked about Bill Gates in a couple videos. You can check in my videos. You just go to my channel page, select videos, and you're gonna see a search field. You can put Gates in there, and you're gonna see that there are 2 videos about him. And one talks about Bill Gates, answer about vaccines, and that video exploded at some time, was throttled another time. I understand that, yes, YouTube wants to fight misinformation. I did not make any disinformation of that. I just was talking about snippets of information around the internet. It was not any conspiracy theory, but I think it would be problematic at times to get those videos really seen. And I understand that YouTube wants to play safe, wants to be family friendly, that doesn't want any misinformation running through the algorithm. So I just my objective is not exposing the Illuminati or anything like that. My objective is make you think and learn about human behavior. So that's why I sometimes pick topics that are a bit I don't know, like show business, celebrities, that we can extract knowledge from that. And about Dr. Fauci, I should do a video about him. I think it's he's been very politicized. His stance has been really politicized. It's a lot of things I don't like about him. There's a lot of things that I understand about his job, and there are a lot of things that that no matter what I say, people are gonna say that I'm wrong, and I'm okay with that. As I say, you don't have to be okay. You don't have to accept everything that I say. Only if it makes sense to you. If it makes sense to you and you can apply it, then my job is done. That's all what I want to do. Hello, Angela Black here, and this is sometimes it's plays a bit odd. This Elsie Bolter really grasping the subject and how to apply it. That's just that, applying it. There's no knowledge is really really good unless you can apply it. There are some knowledge, like for example a Zen riddle. What is the sound of clapping with just one hand? Or what is the sound of one hand? There is knowledge that is not like useful per se, but it's something that puts you in a state of meditation, of thinking, of trying to liberate your mind, of 2 + 2 = 4. Sometimes we need some kind of knowledge. Art, for example. I'm an artist. I understand that art sometimes doesn't have a direct application. We don't apply art unless, of course, it's like industrial design for our phones or keyboards or microphones or our computers. But we sometimes need that escape from, I think that was Picasso who said a sentence like that. We need art to be escape from reality. Let's say I don't have that quote exactly this, or I think he said something like that art was something to like take a breath from reality. We sometimes need that, and I think that's why with my list is you are subscribed to my email list. You just have to download my 100 body language tips that are on the link of the description of this video. You subscribe to my email list, and you're gonna receive. I'm translating one of my books. I originally wrote that in Spanish, Churchill's Salt Shaker. I wrote that book in Spanish. I'm translating it to English, and I'm sharing to my email list chapter by chapter, absolutely free to read at your own pace. Every chapter as I translate it. So it's a good idea if you want to know about these stories. Stories is knowledge, biographical stories of people around, of all over history, that can teach us lessons of how they handle things and how can we, I don't know, like reformulate our circumstances to apply them to ourselves. All right, this is something. I think live gives us the viewer a more personal insight into whoever's delivering the information and makes facts and explanation easier to absorb personally. Just taking my live shows don't stop. Thanks, Karen. I think lives are not perfect, but I always want my recorded videos to be perfect, to be impeccable, to be stainless, to be the timing, everything. But it takes a lot of work, and I sometimes want to share things with you that are quicker, and I think that sometimes in many of my recorded videos, I've got recorded videos that were not as popular, so to speak, were not seen for by many people. I remember there's a video, one of my videos last year. I always talk about that. I was about Taddy Westbrook. A video was, I think, was very good. I was a little disheartened when I uploaded that video and not many people saw it, because not many people was interested in Taddy Westbrook story at the moment. So I thought there was a lot of body language information there, very good body language information that people just were not seeing. And that was like I spent 3 days. I have no problem spending 3 days doing a video, but I would like people to watch the video and apply the information. So I think lives might get repetitive sometimes. I don't think I've said many of the things I've said today in other lives, but I think they're a great idea to read what you think, to read your comments, to respond directly to your comments, to share with you insights that maybe fall outside of the spectrum of actual body language. And sometimes that's something that worried me a lot when I was trying to make these recorded videos, edited videos, that they gotta have a body language analysis, when what I was most interested in was to you understand human behavior. And sometimes we have to step a bit back from body language and watch the bigger picture. And you may say, hey, that's okay. If that's your intention, that's okay. But I had this feeling that I had to have the same format every single video. And that was a lot of stress, because not every case could be handled the same way. There was, for example, the Derek Jackson video was really popular, had a lot of body language and that. But there's my latest Andrew Cuomo video that did not have that much body language, but it had human behavior inside. So that is something. As for me, I'm sometimes can be very stubborn. I can be very systematic. I need this template to do things 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I don't have this template, then I like enter in a loop of non-thinking. I block myself, and that is not good. We should have a strategy to watch a case for a circumstance and say, I'm going to handle this. I have an idea how could I handle this, and just get to work. And I think is one of the things that I couldn't do when I was, for example, I'm doing the Erica Jane and Tom Girardi. I got stuck in the fact that I needed to do body language, but there's so many things that are not body language in this case that I should address that too. And that's a bit of that flexibility, being flexible, being liquid. There's another recommendation I have to give you, that keep yourself liquid in what you learn, how you perceive your own skills, perceive your own circumstances. We sometimes think that our circumstances are set in stone. We cannot escape them, but water always finds a way. And so if we think about ourselves as being liquid, we'll be better suited to handle those circumstances. I made the sin. I committed the sin of being absolutely stubborn and square and set in stone, and it was not good. It was not good at all. So it's a very good, important part to be liquid, to have liquid thinking. Let's see. All right, this is good. When you meet a person for the first time, what do you take notice of in terms of body language? The first thing I see in a person watching them the first time is the way they dress. And not in a Instagram fashion way, not in a judgmental way, but I want to know how comfortable the person feels in their clothing, how practical it is. For example, if you're meeting a person for the first time, you watch their blouse or their shirt, if the shirt fits or doesn't fit their body, the pants or skirt they're using. Do they look comfortable? Do they look worn? Do they look like match? Do they use comfortable shoes? Not comfortable shoes. That's the quickest thing that you can see in any person, even if they are not, even from the distance, even if they're not talking to you, you can have an impression of what they're dressing, the way they are dressing, and have a first very little signal of how is their personality. Many people say that you cannot judge people by their cover. You should not judge people by the way they're dressed. But you can guess that there was no another person that chose their clothing for them. They chose those clothing, that blouse, that skirt, those pants, those shoes in the morning, and they made the decision of dressing like that. So in fact, how they are dressing is a decision they made. So that's part of their personality or the message that they want to project, the way they're dressing. So that's in fact, it's not judging, it's just having a small how do you say, signal or clue about how they're inside, how do you feel, how they behave. Yeah, their personality. We could say that. The other thing that I notice, and it's very important, is the way they greet not only me but everyone else. If they treat everyone the same, if they watch the people, see people into their eyes. When we used to do handshakes are coming back. Sometimes they're gonna coming back. Handshakes are coming back. I'm absolutely sure of that. I try to feel their handshake, how they give their hand. There's a lot that can be said about handshakes in terms of exchanging some energy. I know that it could sound a bit metaphysical, but there's a metaphysical component to the way our bodies interact with energy. And that will be a very cool topic for a live or even one of these recorded videos that I'm doing on some topics. But we exchange energy when we lock eyes. We exchange energy when we touch. We exchange energy with handshake. So the handshake is a very good moment because we lock eyes. If the person looks into your eyes, we touch skin to skin. We can feel the emotion of the person. We can feel the interest of the person in that first approach. If you cannot give the person a handshake, I suggest that you try to like pay attention at their speed, how they move, how their body moves in space. I think this is a bit odd that I'm saying this. It's not like they have this posture or the other posture. It's not like they touch their hair. Those are other kind of signals. But you should pay attention at how they walk, how they stride, how they turn around. Just make that question in your mind. How does this person walk? There's no general classification of walking strides. You can say that one person is walking faster than the other and that's it. But you should pay attention to walking strides and how people move. That's it. Just ask that question in your mind. Look at that person, a person walking on the street, and make that question in your mind. How does this person move? And if you look at one person, of course, it will be really, really. It will not be useful because when you're asked that question 100 times with 100 different people, you begin to notice patterns. You begin to notice certain patterns that you cannot explain, but your brain is picking them up. Your brain already picks them up, but the rational part of our processor always discards them because we always go for the easy thing, for the words. Let's ask this person how they feel. Let's ask this person what do they do in their free time. And we are lost that ability of just having a knack or a feeling or using our intuition. And you wake up your intuition by asking yourself questions that you cannot answer in a rational way. How does this person walk? Is not an easy question to ask and that give a rational explanation or a straight explanation or an answer on a single sentence. It's like, that's what I'm telling you, that it's important to have this Zen or philosophy side of trying to get ourselves, our thinking outside of that safe zone of words and just try to describe not with words but just directly in our minds. It's a bit hard to explain, but it's very simple to apply. Just look at one person and say, how does this person walk? And don't be forced into trying to explain it. You don't have to explain it to anyone. Just try to be aware how the person moves. You'll begin to catch, once you have asked that question 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times, that's like 3 months of observations. You will notice that you'll begin picking up patterns. You talk with the people and you say that you notice that they are happy, or they are hiding something from you. They're worried about something, and you begin to notice that there are patterns of walking, of moving, of behaving that match those states. And maybe just by watching a person walk, you can make a decent guess of how they're feeling inside, even if you don't know the person yet. And this was, I'm fascinated by the story, by the way, of Milton Erickson. If you've been working with NLP, you know Milton Erickson. If you don't know about him, I strongly suggest that you Google him. Milton Erickson had polio and was basically paralyzed for years, and all he could do was watch people, watch his sisters, watch his parents, watch people around him, and that's all that he could do. It was really boring, but at the same time, he developed this ability to pick up all these nuances of body language, because that's all that he could do: observe and watch people, because he was paralyzed. He eventually overcame that paralysis. He learned to walk again. He became a psychiatrist, and he could use all this observation to make guesses about people and understand people on a level that no one else could. Now, Milton is a really extreme example, because we cannot afford to just be observing people all day, but it's proof that we can polish our watching abilities in a way that bypasses our rational concepts. All right, and those rational concepts sometimes are dangerous, because you jump to conclusions, you make judgments about people, you have bias towards some certain kinds of people, prejudices that are never good in communication. You should have a fresh mind every time you have every interaction with any person. Okay, this is how can someone express their feelings in a calm way? I feel like sometimes I talk from fear. I don't honestly talk to people, and I get frustrated and angry. Keeping calm is really, really hard sometimes. And I always tell people, when they ask me, is it possible to spot lies through body language? And it's the same. Body language is one subset of nonverbal communication, of human behavior. So when, for example, in an interrogation room, there's so much at play besides body language. But yes, this is possible to say if someone is lying, if you have enough information about them. But beyond detecting if someone is lying, the hardest part is not detecting the lie. The hardest part is keeping yourself calm and try to behave beyond the fact that you feel angry because the person is lying to you. You're always going to feel angry. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel betrayed. You're going to feel this word disappointed. You're gonna feel disappointed because someone is lying to you. So that part, understanding how to react, does not come from observing people. You can be very good at observing people. You can be like a body language savant, watching people, but that keeping calm comes from watching yourself, and this is something that no one tells us. Everyone talks about emotional intelligence, and when you ask them, do you really know what you're talking about? Do you really know about emotional intelligence? It's something just as simple as that. Understanding your own emotions, and you don't get that in a book. You understand what is emotional intelligence. You understand how can you listen to yourself? But people do not put into practice. If you don't take time to listen to yourself, to your own emotions, for example, let's see, if you feel angry, if you talk, every time you talk to a certain person, you feel anxious, and you don't set time off to think about those interactions and ask yourself the question, why do I always feel anxious when I'm talking to this person? What did this person do to trigger that anxiety in me? If they didn't do anything, then why do I feel this way? We don't ask those questions because we don't even have time, because we are always we're always busy with this little gadgets that are really good, are really useful for that. We don't set time to ask to for solitude, to ask ourselves important questions about ourselves. We need boredom. We need to get bored at least once a week and do nothing. Not watching Netflix, not reading books, not scrolling in social media, not reading anything. Just get bored. Just have a piece of paper and a pen and a pencil and just think about your week. It's very important if you at least think about those interactions that you know that made an emotional reaction in you. You reacted emotionally to those events for a reason. And I understand that it could be, sometimes it could be easier if you go to therapy or any kind of therapy and talk about this, but it's a very good idea to save a bit of time to asking these questions yourself. Sometimes you could be to therapy and you could realize that there are things that are not important and you just will not say them, will not reveal them. It depends also in the therapist's skills, but it is very useful. It is imperative. It's something that we should do at least once a week. It will be ideal once a day at night before going to sleep, reflecting 5 minutes about your feelings that day. Why did I react this way when I was talking to my children or my spouse or my boss or my coworkers or my friends or anyone? Or in this situation, I was driving home from work, and every time I pass some intersection, I feel this way. I don't know, and I want to understand why. I don't know. I get exposed to this stimulus, and I have this emotional reaction. That is important. We have to understand why do we have those emotional reactions. The only way that we can understand ourselves, understand what is that steals our serenity or calmness, and how can we do better next time. And maybe the moment that we understand why do we react in that way is because we realize, for example, this is very common. I always say, if something says someone tells you that you're an idiot, there are only two possible responses. Oh, two simple responses. Maybe you get angry, or you simply don't pay attention to it. If it's someone that you care about their opinion and they tell you that you're an idiot, it's more probable that you will react emotionally. Now there's the magical part. That is, for you to react, you must identify within yourself something that is an anchor of that what people are saying. I always give the example of a platypus. This funny animal in Australia, by the way. The platypus. If someone calls you a platypus, you will be confused at the very least, or right, a platypus, whatever you say. But there will be no emotional reaction. Maybe you will laugh, and that's funny. The platypus, that's comical. But there will be no anger, will be no sadness, no nothing, just because there is nothing inside you where you have the doubt, may I be a platypus? No, you don't feel like a platypus. You don't identify with a platypus. So if someone calls you a platypus, you're not gonna react because there's nothing inside you to for that statement to hang on or to be like stuck to anything inside you. If someone calls you an idiot and there's the slightest way that you feel that you made something idiotic or you behaved in an idiotic way, and that's why they call you that way, then you will get, more probably you will get angry. Why? Because you feel that there's something inside you. You're giving them reason to call call you that way. So in fact, you're getting angry at the fact that you have the possibility, you are thinking about the possibility that you're actually an idiot. So that's really inside yourself. If someone calls you a platypus, you're not gonna react. If someone calls you an idiot, you will react in the sense that you identify or not that insult within you. And that's why it's so important to be sure about what you're doing. If I'm doing, for example, if I upload a video and I'm sure of what I did and someone tells me, then I'm a complete jerk or an idiot or an imbecile for uploading that video or getting to that conclusions on that video. If I'm sure that I did my best and I'm sure of what I did with my video, I will not feel anything because I will be absolutely sure that the other person is just wrong. All right? But for that, I must be sure what I did, that I feel. Do you feel like you did everything with this video? Yes, then there's nothing else to be said. Do you understand why do you react this way when this person is talking? I don't know yet. Then it's important that you find out the way. Those reactions, how to keep calm in those situations, is always an inward search. It's always an inward search because you cannot explain and cannot be responsible for the reactions of other people. There are other people, you cannot control them, you cannot control the circumstances. All that you can control is what happens inside you. And if you don't understand and if you don't pay attention of what's going inside you, then who will? And this is the big secret. It's relatively easy to explain. It's really hard and time consuming to see within yourself, but it's absolutely important and imperative that you do it. It's really important. All right. It's the same. How can I work on being more patient? That's always, it's emotion. You are impatient because you want results. You want something immediate. Why do you want it right away? What are you afraid of if you don't get it right away? Those are the questions that we should ask ourselves. All right. This is a very good one. Are you empathy can catch the emotions of people when looking at a picture of them? This is something that this is like a power that I had a few months ago, up until a few months ago, and I don't understand why I lost it. I had this ability, and of course there are personal situations in my life. I'm not gonna share them here. I have certain idea how could I lose that ability, but I had more of that ability like in December of up to December of last year, and I just lost that. So the problem is that it's not a problem. It's in fact an advantage. I never relied on that too much because I know that I'm human. I could be biased. So that's why I try to take as many factors beyond body language, beyond intuition, into the equation, so to have a better conclusion. But yes, there are people that can look at a picture and have a good guess of what's going on. Like yesterday, we have a live talking about this picture of Prince Andrew with Virginia Giuffre, and we were trying to make out some of their the emotions in a very critical, rational way. But no, right now, at this moment, I can say that I don't have this power, so to speak, available. Have this sometimes have these flashes that I can guess, of course, in a structured manner, how people dress, how people move, how people talk, how people are, the distance they keep from each other. That's something that you cannot. That's like riding a bicycle. Once you get it, you cannot turn. It's very hard to lose it. All right. And that's another question that then people ask me sometimes. Can you turn off the body language interpretation? And no, you cannot turn off. It's like you learn a second language. Let's say that you learn French, and if you the moment that you listen to someone speaking French, you're going to understand. You cannot just I'm going to turn off my French understanding in this moment. No, once you understand French, you cannot turn it down off. So body language, once you learn this, you cannot turn it off either. You just get it. You get so used to get the signals, but at the same time, you will get a lot of contradictions. You will get when people are not really telling the truth. When people try to hide something from you, and that's why it's so important that you balance that learning of observing people with how you feel, your emotional state, how you react to that, and how you manage to understand people and their situation first and foremost. Okay, this person is lying. I should find out why do they feel compelled or forced or they need to lie. That's really much more important than just saying, hey, you are lying. Why are you lying to me? No, that's confrontational. Sometimes you will need to be confrontational, but most of the time it will be a better idea to understand why people feel that they have to lie or hide something from you. It's gonna make you much better communicator. People are gonna trust you more. You're gonna feel you're gonna reach peace of mind much easier. That's really a really cool advantage. Get interested. Be interested. Really interested in the reason why people behave the way they behave. All right. Yes, I'm a perfectionist. It's a blessing and a curse. Yes, I think I still think I know when I made a flawless video, and the only video that I consider flawless is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard video. I'm sure I'm the only one that can see the why I consider it flawless. And sometimes I try to relax when I make my recorded videos, because I know that spontaneity is really important. Sometimes I sometimes improvise when I'm doing the script, and maybe I'm recording them, and I came up with better, I don't know, insights or even jokes that may drive the point easier. So spontaneity is very important, and spontaneity and perfectionism cannot be, yes, I don't know, you cannot have both at the same time. But I hadn't heard this. It's true that know a person's true character is best to observe for at least 6 months. It makes sense, but sometimes you don't have 6 months. Sometimes you don't have even 6 minutes to make to know a person's character. So you have to make a guess on the fly. Sometimes that's why I stress that it's so important to observe people without words. How is the way they move, the way they walk, how do they use their hands? Is try to not explain it with words, but just watch people. Just watch people. Do not try to classify your observation, because that will be massive. And believe me, I tried and failed, like, I don't know, 7 times in the last 20 years to make an absolute compilation, encyclopedia of human watching observation based on the works of Desmond Morris, but It will be never ending. It will simply be too huge of of a task up till now to be practical. So it will be like so many ways to classify the way a person walks, for example, that you're not gonna learn them as you learn the multiplication tables, for example, but you can learn them by observing and exposing yourself to patterns. And there's also the fact that there are always certain cultural differences, and those cultural differences are going to avoid any classification from one country to another. And that will be a bigger problem because maybe you are used to watching people walk in the United States, all right, and then you come to Europe. When you come to Europe, you'll see that in, for example, in Latvia, you see that people, you cannot apply that knowledge or what you learn in the United States to Latvian people. So it is much better if you get used to observe people without any classification. So you can observe American people absolutely free of any bias, or you can observe Latvian people with any bias, and you get used to that, get impregnated with that culture, with that local body language, and it's your brain can do that. Your brain can do that on autopilot. We have all the software for that, and it will be really unpractical to do it with like a dictionary. I always thought that I began that project many times, and no, it's impossible. It's maybe it's not impossible, but once it is finished, it will be highly impractical. It's much better to learn to watch on the fly, right, and try to trust your gut. For of course, the more you watch, the more refined your gut will be about your observations. That's very important. All right, it's Veronica. Veronica is really good friend. We're YouTube friends here. You don't know her channel. She talks about Ukrainian culture. And how do you calm your anxiety when you have a very important official kind of meeting? You have only one chance to make an impression and pass it, and that is the problem. You have, Veronica. You gave the answer in your question. You have only one chance to make an impression and pass it. When I have those moments, and this is a personal tool. This is not nothing that I read anywhere else, but I just naturally came up with this. When I have a very important meeting or an interview or a public speaking gig that I'm really anxious about it, I want to nail it perfectly. The problem is that I frame that. I feel anxious because I frame that as a single shot. I'm like, I don't know, Luke Skywalker in that trench run, and I just have to nail it using the force, and there's just only one hit possible. And thus this romantic concept that you have only just one chance to do it right. That is really stressful. That really puts a stress in you. And what I do is two things. The first thing is, if it's, for example, it's a job interview, right? And you could be perfectly anxious for a job interview, because you really want the job, and the anxiety is good because it tells you that you care about the job itself. You want to do it right. But what I do in those cases is to think about, I have a job, or my regular life, or have a very strange job, so to speak, that I need to expose myself to job interviews every week. For example, every week, for example, my job interview is Thursday, 2 p.m. And I just fool myself into thinking that every Thursday or every week or every month or every year for the last 10 years, I've been doing a job interview Thursdays at 2 p.m. And this is interview number 352. And it's not like I haven't gotten the job. It's not like I failed. It's simply that my job is doing the job interview. My task is doing the job interview. Maybe it's not a job interview. Maybe it's I have to present a project to a board meeting, or maybe I have to have a yes, I have to speak publicly, and I feel anxious because I want it to be really good, and I have to do a TED talk. You have to do a TED talk on Saturday at 6 p.m. and you have to fool yourself. You have to like make yourself this story that every Saturday at 6 p.m. you do a TED talk, and this next Saturday you will do it, but the past Saturday you do it as well, and the Saturday before that you did it, and the Saturday before that you did it, and you've been doing it for years. So this is just another, and after this event or after this interview, you will keep doing that. So that's important. It's just to reframe the event. It's not a one shot. That is something that you've done a lot of times, and this is just one more time. It's like auto suggestion, like suggesting yourself that this is not just one chance. It's just a long string. Imagine, I don't know, you're in like a Groundhog Day style loop. I don't know, use your imagination, but that's something that I use. And the second thing that I use is that most of the time this anxiety sparks because you're going to interact with people that you don't know. You have this job interview with a person that, for example, the interviewer, or you will be speaking to a group of people that you don't know, or you'll be presenting a project to people that you don't know. The anxiety always is by an interaction with other people because you feel that you will be judged. You want to nail that. You want to give the best impression. And the problem is that we see people as judges. We see or appreciate the person as a judge to our value. The interviewer is going to judge our value. The audience is going to judge our value. Everyone is going to judge our value, and that creates the anxiety. What you want to do is to create a story about all these people. For example, the interviewer, maybe you don't have any idea who the interviewer is, but beforehand you're gonna think about their day. They're human beings. They woke up in the morning. They like they have to brush their teeth. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they had I don't know. They have conflicts with their family. They have victories. They have struggles. They are human beings. You have to make a story in your mind about them, even if you don't know them, even if you don't know how they look like, even if you are going to meet them. When you open the door and meet your interviewer, you're going to think in seconds about their day. You're going to paint them. You're going to assign all this story of this human story to them, and you're going to sort of downgrade them from judges to human beings. They're just humans like you. They have struggles like you. They are absolutely common people as you. And that way you will feel much less anxious about those encounters. Imagine that the audience, all of them are there, and they want to listen to you. They are there to listen to you. They're not there to judge you. If there's some kind of judgment, for example, if you're going to give a lecture, so you need for example, a doctorate, or you have to make a presentation of your thesis or something that is actually a literal judgment of your value and work. This is even more important. You have to interpret the event like it's not a single chance, it's not a single shot, and the people are humans after all. This is really, really important. This is my two tricks. I feel anxious when it's a one shot. I feel anxious when I have to persuade or have to convince people like everyone else. But I try to frame all this story in my head about being in a loop, that this is just one event of thousands before and thousands that will come in the future, and these people are just humans. I will help you. I'm sure that this trick is gonna help you. And thanks, Veronica, for this really good question. Getting to the end, 1 hour and a half. I thought it was going to be 40 minutes, only 4 minutes, but I have to go a bit. Uh, Sadly, I have to go because I have to work on the Erica Jane video and other video that I have working on. All right, please. This is Jesus. What is the importance of eyebrows in reading body language? As I always tell that. Thanks, Minnie. I always suggest that people mentally draw an imaginary X over people's faces when talking to them. So, because over that X, you will have the most important features of their facial expressions. It's a way that pay attention to the right things. That's very important. And when you imagine that X, you realize that the brows, the way the brows move, tell you a lot of people's emotions. And I get said a lot, what if people have Botox? What if people have Botox? What if people have Botox? And that's a big problem, because you know that they have limited movement in here, limited wrinkles in here. The Botox is to avoid wrinkles appearing in here and here. So they just limit the movement of these muscles, and in turn limit the movement of the brows. But I still think they're important to watch and spot. And even if there's Botox, if you're face to face with someone, you're not gonna see small movements of those brows, even if they're smaller than regular eyebrows without Botox. So it's important to keep track of them. All right. This is important too. My internal compass is definitely off because I keep giving people the benefit of the doubt due to traumatic past. I keep creating a pattern by going back on my own judgment. Doing the internal work. There's absolutely thanks, Leo. There's absolutely nothing wrong on giving people the benefit of the doubt. I think there's possibilities in every people, and we could not function as a society if we thought that everyone was Machiavellian or everyone was bad. Sadly, there's a huge percentage of people that are sociopaths or just are out for their own benefit. But I think we should be able to. I don't know how to put it. It's like watching people and exposing ourselves to how they behave. You can start to spot who are the ones that are legit and who are the ones that are not that. Are not as good as they claim to be. And this is really important, that you learn who to trust and how much to trust, and always ask questions and not give in. Maybe they want money from you, or they want sentiments from you, or they want support from you, and you have to test them a bit, but to see what they truly want. And of course, and you have also to think what's in that for you. What can you get from the interaction? I know it sounds like practical, but it will be great if we can be altruistic and all the time. would be great if everyone was altruistic, but we know that not everyone is. Even if all of us try to be altruistic all the time, then just one sociopath will just tip the scale in a very wrong way, and could be very wrong for us. So this is not an easy answer for this. I just have to keep testing, give people the benefit of the doubt, but do not give in what they want so easy. Just test them to a bit further to see what do they really want from you. All right. Okay, this is the kind of things I would like to answer quickly. What does it mean when someone drinks something after saying when they hear something? What after saying or when they hear something? Well, I don't think there is a meaning, thanks essence, a meaning directly related to this, specifically directly related to this. And this is the trap, the body language trap of meanings. Does this gesture mean this? That gesture means that. I would like to tell you that every gesture has at least a limited set of meanings, or at least 4 or 5 minutes will be something that we could learn. But we always need to look at body language and behavior in a general, holistic way, and be working. And it's like a puzzle. You're trying to build a puzzle and try to understand what is the puzzle is about, and you begin building the pieces until you have a clearer picture. Maybe you will not get all the pieces of the puzzle, but this is, for example, just as an example, doesn't have a direct or inherent meaning in itself. But let's say if you play poker, you know that there are tails, and tails can be anything, even drinking. All right, I know that you have a good hand, you drink, or you moist your lips, or you stop breathing, or you scratch your head. There are things that do not have a meaning in themselves, but you know there's a correlation with the event, in this case poker. There is a tail. Hey, I know that when you do this, you have a good hand. It's like having a local meaning to something. So in this case, for example, how could I use this information? If I see that one person always sips from their drink when they listen from something, or they say something, and maybe they say something, then they don't sip from their drink, and there's a change. Why did that change happen? I ask myself that question. If I notice that that repeats again, then I confirm that there is something with that topic the person said, and because there is emotional reaction. The act of sipping the drink doesn't have a meaning, but it marks something, a topic that the people is saying. I hope this makes sense. I think I should do record a video about that. It's not that the event itself has a meaning, but it's linked to a topic that the person is listening to, or the person is talking about, or one person entered the room and they did not touch the drink, and when the person left the room, they began sipping the drink again. That's a really good clue. The sipping of the drink doesn't have a meaning itself, but it's a marker of a reaction to another thing, a relationship with that person that entered the room or left the room. Okay? Again, you could not write an encyclopedia of meanings of body language, but there is observation that you can train yourself to do over and over again to get better at this, and just asking yourself questions. This is fascinating. I must say that. One last question. This one, last question for today. Elysian Soul Tarot. Hello, my question goes along similarly to the previous on anxiety. I often struggle during a conversation that comes with constructive criticism. How can you settle a mind that is in danger mode? Um, I think criticism, whether constructive or non-constructive, it will be always really uh, not hard, so to speak, to swallow, but it will be sometimes hard to implement because you think it's a personal thing. Is the thing that person is trying to like attack you or criticize you personally, and this is a way that you can frame those kind of criticism, realizing that it's a very less than, I don't know, 10% of attacks of criticism, even constructive criticism. Almost nothing is personal. Almost nothing is personal. If you've been following this live, we were talking about if someone calls you a platypus, if you will not feel anything because you don't feel like a platypus. But I mean the personal. I realize the personal. There's no personal attack because maybe the person, maybe let's say it's a hideous or raw or very cruel criticizing about what you're doing. You will realize that the people is really uh, feeling envy of what you did, or they're jealous that they did not come up with something better, or they know how to do something better, but they haven't done anything about that, and they're trying to attack you, and that is something easy to spot, and that is easier to react with, like a bit more serene because you understand that they have a problem. But in constructive criticism, you have to realize, the most important to realize is that it's not personal. It's not a personal attack. They're not attacking you. They're just making a suggestion about how they would do it. And this is very important. They're not telling you how you should do things. Even if they don't have the empathy or the emotional intelligence for not telling you, they should not tell you, hey, I think you should do things this way. Okay, that is like attacking the way that you did something. When I'm going to give this kind of feedback, I usually do it impersonally. I usually do it like, you know what? I saw a YouTuber, or I saw this other guy that did this in this other way. I don't know if that may suit you, or that may help you, or that could make you easier. Right? Just think about it. I make that criticism, that constructive criticism, in an indirect way. It always helps a lot because people then don't pay attention to the attack itself, but to the actual recommendation itself. But not everyone has, I don't know, the tact or the personality to do things this way, or the experience to do this way. So you should understand that when people say you should do this way, or should do this and this, you should separate the people and any thought of a personal attack from what they are saying, because what they are saying might be an actual good idea to improve yourself, to improve your work, to improve your output. So it's important to try to separate the person. How would they feel about themselves? If they feel envy, or they feel jealous, or they actually want to help you, or they don't know exactly how to tell you that. You have to think about all those factors and finally extract what their words are saying, what they're actually saying, and see if that really makes sense in your work. Because we sometimes might be missing really sound feedback just because we don't like the person, or we don't like their political stance, or we don't like their religious stance, or we don't like we just don't like them, or we don't like the way they talk at us, and we're not focusing on the thing that really could help us. We're getting entangled in the emotional part of that statement. I understand that it takes effort, it takes energy to calm our minds and try to listen to people um, in a in a calm way, and that's why I suggested that exercise earlier. That I try to exercise solitude, try to exercise boredom, try to think about your own emotions, and try to understand how that people struggle with that too. That will help you with all these examples: how to do a better job interviews, how to present projects, how to calm your anxiety in those moments. Try to think about that process. And this is final cheat code that I have for myself. And if you are um, subscribe to my email list. You can find the link in the description. You can just download my 100 body language tips. One of the first tips I give is to learn to look at your life in third person, like you're a video game, like looking at yourself in third person, looking at yourself reacting to people, looking at yourself living your life. That's a very good, very good NLP trick to reframe the way you react to things and the way you react to events in your life, and it will be really helpful. Well, a lot of questions, very good experience. It was really great that we have this small group today, and of course it's going to be recorded in YouTube if you want to watch the replay. There's a lot of videos, recorded videos that I'm going to be doing in the following months, but these lives are really good because we can interact in a more direct way, answer your questions, and there's so many things that you can ask, and I sometimes don't remember that I can share with you, and that gives me more ideas, keeps my brain juices flowing, that sets me outside that sometimes like I don't know how to say that, being static in my creativity, because I enter a route, as I told you. Sometimes I'm a list guy, and I gotta have a template. I need to break from that because creativity doesn't work as a list. We sometimes have to break from that, and I found that these live videos, I might be blabbering a bit. I might lost my ideas a bit. You may say that I maybe jump from an idea to the other, don't organize my thoughts. But I think there's a way that I can show you my own insights. We can share this space, and we can have a really good time if we just want to. So for today, really glad to have you here, my body language buddies. And I hope to meet you on our next live, maybe at this time, maybe a bit later for me, a bit earlier for me, but I know that we will have new and exciting topics to be sharing and talking about. Thank you for being here. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and we'll meet again in another live or recorded video, or whenever the wind takes us. Take care and have a great day.